Okay, I wanted to do a short video on how I handled lowering my south wall in my roll-off roof observatory, or how I'm going to handle it. I haven't done it yet. This is me experimenting. But anyway, so here is my observatory. So this is my little observatory on the hill. And you notice it's got a roll-off roof, and it also has a fold-down south wall. And the reason the walls are so tall is because of wind out here. So I didn't want the wind, which means I wanted a fold-down south wall instead of having the scopes basically above the outside of the wall and having, basically the entire section down here roll off. But nonetheless, that's what I have. And yes, it's under construction. It's not painted. It's not finished, but it is functional. So that's kind of interesting. So with that said, and I have the same problem in Voyager that while you can have a roof controller under dome, and this is not hooked up at the moment, so there's nothing here, but I do have control through here of the Dragon Lair controller that is moving the roof, but it doesn't have any additional features to add the south wall to it, so I needed something else. So that boils down to the switch interface. So what I found was a particular switch. Let's get that up here. So this switch is the Waveshare 8-channel Ethernet relay module, and it is the B version, and that was important because the B version has inputs. So each one of these inputs here can be connected to the digital ground, and then if you bridge over to D1 or 2, 3, 4, all of it, they will do some action upon these relays over here. And that's what was the interesting part, and that's what makes this whole thing actually kind of work. So anyway, that's the switch I picked. And I picked it mostly because this guy, Nico Gartner, has written a ASCOM driver for it. So he's written it for the original one, the standard relay one, and the B relay. But I highly recommend the B because it's the one that has inputs, which you can then use for indication of your wall being open or closed, or you could do your roof that way. It doesn't really matter, however you want to handle it. So anyway, that's what I chose. So here is Nina. Let me turn that off. And once you load the driver, the Astro Nico Waveshare Ethernet Relay driver, you will get basically this setup. I've turned on the first 4 relays, and I've turned on the first 2 digital inputs. I don't have to see them to make them work, but I want the indication that the wall has opened or closed, and I want to be able to control these 2 relays, and then I'm using relay 3 and 4 as simulated limit switches for this demonstration. The magic is here in what they call toggle mode. So in normal mode, it's just an indication. So if you bridge from ground to input 3, then in Nina, you would see that this is in condition 1 instead of condition 0. But it doesn't do anything. In toggle mode, whenever you bridge between ground and input 1, then he will toggle relay 1. Same goes for 2, or however many of these you set up. So that's where the magic comes in. So let's go ahead and close that and turn him on, and this is what that looks like. So I have an open south wall and a closed south wall pair of relays here. And then I've got my fake limit switches here, which I'm going to switch on and off as part of the process so you can see how it actually works. If you look under gauges, here are the 2 digital inputs providing status into the system. So this current status is 0, meaning the south wall is not open. And this one is 1, meaning the south wall is closed. So that's the condition of my roof, or my south wall at the moment, and the closed limit switch is on. So he has been tripped by the wall actually being closed. And this is all controllable through the sequencer. So I can go to the sequencer and I set a switch value. The switch is open the south wall, and I set that to 1. Reset this, and then I have delayed it 30 seconds so we can go in and play with that a little bit, but to simulate a night's worth of images. And then there is set switch value close south wall to 1, which will perform the action of closing the wall. So what I don't want to do is just leave a voltage sitting on my roof or my south wall controllers, which are controlling the 2 linear actuators, because I need them synchronized so they don't twist my wall in half under some weird condition. So I want to keep that. I just want Nina to activate or apply 12 volts to a pin, either to move it down or to move it up. So in the sequencer, once I decide that I'm ready to go, I can hit my button and he triggers this to 1. If we go back to equipment, you can see that the open south wall relay is now on, which would then cause the closed limit switch to turn off because he's now no longer being hit. And eventually the open limit switch would hit. And because I've put him in toggle mode, he toggles this to off. And then he tells me that the wall is now open. So south wall open is 1, south wall closed is 0, meaning the wall is open. And then after the night's activity, he closes the south wall. So now that he's on, the open limit switch will kick off, and eventually the closed limit switch will kick on, which will toggle this to off, and then tell me that the wall is closed. So that's the sequence of events as it happens. The only issue I have here is this is not an absolute. It's not toggle it to off. It's just toggle. So in this case, if I lost connectivity while the wall was closed to my closed limit switch, and then I got it back, he will toggle this on. So, and while that takes a second to indicate, the relay did it actually quite quickly. So this isn't going to hurt me, since I already have a controller for the 2 linear actuators, and they're not going to tear themselves apart trying to get down any further because they're at the limits that I have set. So that's not that big a deal. And the same goes for the roof being in the open position. So if I have basically gotten to the condition where the open limit switch is on, the roof is open, but I lose connectivity to it, and then I get connectivity back, then he switches on, open the south wall. But since the limits at the bottom are set inside of the actual controller for the actuators, this doesn't matter either. And it's fairly close to completely retracted anyway. So not that big a deal. So that's not too terribly painful for sure. So in this case, this would be what open condition looks like. Then this would be condition of closed. So if you have a better idea than this, I'd be very interested to hear it. That's basically what I've done. Doesn't mean it's the right thing. It doesn't mean I've decided on Nina. I'm still looking at Voyager. I think the drag scripts have a little bit more flexibility than Nina's sequencer, but haven't decided yet. But anyway, that's what I've done. So thanks for listening, and I hope this was useful.